this topic is really interesting here. The kind of like the people like describing the expectations of what it's gonna be like, or how it was, and how I don't have it anymore, and how I wish it would be again. Because I remember when I first started listening to this topic, um, I, I I I didn't I wasn't uh, interested at all in like any other stuff like meditation or yoga, stuff like that. This kind of like came randomly, so I wasn't like used to these kind of topics like meditation and doing work. Uh, but then like the topic kind of like leads you to it, because of course it's connected to a bunch of um, old stuff like the Vedic scripture, and the people that you find talking about it all say, um, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, or well, because everybody, the first question everybody gets is like, okay, so how do I get it, or like what do I have to do to get it? um, so obviously that's like on everybody's mind. um, I wanted to like kind of ask you, I asked you like a question, I think two Sundays back, about like the parallels between Buddhism and Advaita or non-duality. And you mentioned that you were practicing for like 5 years. I'm just kind of curious. I mean, you don't have to go into detail. Just kind of like how much were you into it, like the practice, and kind of what happened with it, like
Yeah.
how did it go for you?
Yeah, I was really into Buddhism. I used to do an hour or two meditation every day, and I used to study with a women's group at the foundation of the Western Buddhist Order. They have a different name now.
Mm.
So once a week, on Thursday evenings, I used to study with them, and then I often used to do one day voluntary work at their charity shop, and then I would often spend Saturdays and Sundays at the Buddhist Center as well, maybe in the evening or during the day. So I would say I was really heavily involved, and also they had a library full of books and audio tapes from the guru. I don't think they call it guru in Buddhism. I forget what they call it. The teacher, the main teacher
Mm.
in the foundation of the Western Buddhist order. So I used to listen to these tapes all the time and all the different talks. So I would say that I was very heavily involved. And then also like 3 or 4 times a year, I'd be going on retreats. So yeah, it was really important to me for those years.
Okay, and did you feel like, well, I mean,
I
like
also
you
had
feel like the
precepts that I
character?
had to follow. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
you took like the 5 or the 8
Huh?
precepts,
Sorry.
like a nun?
Yeah, no,
Or
not. I wasn't like a nun, but there were precepts, there were rules I had to follow as well.
oh, okay. Oh, well. Okay. So did you feel like that doing got the character of Lisa closer to that experience, or realization, or was it just something that the character does, and is in no way related to what it's currently being experienced?
Yeah. It's impossible for the character to get closer to this because the character is this. So everything is it. So the suffering character is it. The deluded character, the busy-minded character is it, and the peaceful character is it. But what it did do to my character was it settled my character down. Like, so when I started Buddhism, I would say I was quite psychologically disturbed. I wasn't balanced at all. Not that Buddhism actually balanced me, but it balanced me to a greater extent. It calmed down my thinking. Like, I remember the first time I tried to meditate, after like 20 minutes, my mind was crazy. It was like, I felt like the whole world was bouncing through my mind. Like, it was really intensive. And then over the years, I used to be able to do 10 hours sitting, in one day when I did retreats of meditation.
With
So
like
it's,
a still mind for 10 hours.
no, it would change all the time.
Okay.
Sometimes still mind, sometimes not. But I'd be on retreat and we'd do 10 hours meditation a day. And I think some
Yes.
people would find that very difficult to do. You
Yes,
sort of build
yes. I
up
mean,
to
just
it.
the sitting. I mean,
Yeah.
like the body kind of has like that kind of like, well, for Westerners mostly. I'm sure that Asians that are used to like sitting in that position for a long time
Yeah.
are kind of used to it. But Westerners, with the chair and the
Yeah.
whole being bent over thing on computers, kind of like makes it really uncomfortable to be just on the same position for more than a couple of hours even.
Yeah. And that was something that they taught you in Buddhism or in the Buddhist group that I was in, that if your body's hurting, to see that the pain is mind made.
Uh,
Not all of
okay.
the teachers would teach that, but some of them would teach that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it begins to
definitely.
get really trippy. You begin to have like drug like experiences, because I remember one time, like, I felt like my bones were breaking. It was so painful. Like, it was almost to the point where I could cry. And then when the bell went off for the end of the meditation, when I stood up, I realized that my body wasn't in pain at all. Like, that my mind had just made it up. Like, it was presenting that I was in agony. And then when I stood, I didn't even have dead legs. It wasn't even like, how sometimes you stand up and your legs are
Yeah,
dead
and you
and
have
you're
the
limping.
shivering. No, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I've read. I've never. I just get up. I can't stand it. But I actually admire people that are able to do that. I know it's all in the mind or the character's mind or whatever. But I guess there's some people that have some characters that have the willpower to do it. So I guess if you really practice, you could probably do anything. But
Yeah.
I guess it just takes time.
Yeah,
But
yeah, and
that's
it takes time. Like, it's not that I had a predisposition towards it. It was my initial response was wanted to jump up and run around the room or something. But it really is that you get more and more used to it. And it's really settled my character down. Before that, I always had to be doing something. And that really taught me that you don't have to be doing something. You don't have to have all units of time booked up with activity.
yeah. That's true. But the predisposition thing is actually like kind of what interests me about this talk when you were talking about like the AI or the robot, because it does seem like each character has um their own like predisposed algorithm. I mean, I guess like the DNA and all those other
Yeah,
stuff kind of play a lot.
totally.
And if you have like that kind of past life vibes,
Yeah,
then you can also incorporate that like, oh well, I was a yogi in my past life, so now it's really easy for me to do this. It's interesting because it does show that like uh, it doesn't have to be like anything specifically like, let's say like a robot has to have a specific algorithm or program for it to be able to be seen. I mean, any program that's run can be seen by someone that has a computer, but it doesn't like rely on the nature of the algorithm itself, whether or not it's present. I
yeah,
don't know if that makes sense,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's it's really interesting that we go through all these kind of hoops and try to like work it out, and I think that's it's also like that decide to like how do I do this, what do I have to do, why doesn't this work for me, and the character getting stuck in there um, just kind of shows to the infallibility of that perceived free will that we have, or like that I am um, the runner or the producer of these thoughts and desires and intentions and abilities, when it really just, I mean, I don't know if it's random or if there is past life. I'm not really not sure, but there is something that is not you. Basically, it's kind of like what presents itself, and 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 it's always interesting because going from like that perspective of like I am the doer, and I everything that's wrong with my life is because I'm not good enough, or everything that's good in my life is because I earned it. going from that perspective to like kind of seeing things as, this is just the way that it is, um, really really changes stuff, and it doesn't have to be like an experience of, or like a phenomenological experience of bliss, like people painted, or like being happy all the time, or just this enlightenment. Wow, it just kind of is, and you kind of get okay with that.
Yeah. It's just the way it is, and everything else is just mind noise. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, the idea of it being blissful, or the idea of it not being blissful, or any image that might appear of what it should or shouldn't be, is simply mind dancing. And then the whole time there is this stillness which everything is appearing in and is. And it's never moved, it never left you, it's there.
All the time. Yeah, the mind dancing. I think it was one of your videos that you said like, it's in my eyes, or you can see it in my eyes, and until that's, or something like that, and then until you see that, or until that's thing, then I'll just keep dancing with words. Because it's kind of like what it becomes once. I mean, once you have no questions about it, that it's just words going around, kind of like thinking of how to maybe express it, like, oh, it's like, oh, it's not like a movie, or it's not like a TV show, or it's like a video game, and then you kind of like just get it. That kind of just happens. You just get lost in this similes of what it's like. I mean, in respect to speaking with others, or kind of like explaining it.
Yeah.
Um, if they're really, if you're really not talking to anybody, then I guess silence is just as good as noise. I mean, they're both the same, but it just kind of runs along, whether you experience it as such or not, or whether you believe it or not. It just goes on.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, uh, I really enjoy your talks. Hopefully
Nice,
you keep
Carlos.
doing it for a while, and kind of entertaining us here, and with with the dancing of words, and yeah, have yourself a good day or night. It's
Yeah.
night over there. Night. Wow, I
Yeah.
can't believe it. It's like 12 here. It's only like 9 for you or 8.
No,
That is
it's
crazy.
6:30. It's not so late.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, time difference are crazy. All right, Lisa, have yourself a good one.
Thanks, Carlos. Bye.
Bye.